We are one step closer to finding out which League One team will join Portsmouth and Derby in the Championship next season. We've seen Bolton and Oxford both take the advantage in their first legs of this playoff campaign this season. But shall we take a look in a bit more detail into each game, the lineups, the statistics, and let's see who is going to take pole position heading into that Wembley fixture in just a few weeks' time. We've obviously only had leg one so far, but let's take a look into the League One playoffs as things stand. So as you can see on the screen, you can see the playoff standings. And as you can see, Oxford United yesterday took a 1-0 win against Peterborough. And on the 3rd of May, a couple of nights ago, Bolton Wanderers won 3-0 away from home at Barnsley. Now, I'm going to give my complete open and honest thoughts here. I personally thought that Barnsley-Bolton game was very disappointing, let's say. Now, don't get me wrong. Bolton were what they haven't been for a long time, and they were effective in the box, and they scored 3 goals, 3 very important goals, and they were all okay goals. Obviously, one coming straight from a corner, which I felt was a bit harsh on the Barnsley goalkeeper. I'm not sure if I've spoken about it on this channel, but I do think goalkeepers sometimes are overprotected. But I think in that occasion, I think he was underprotected. I think there was not enough protection for the keeper in that situation. Obviously, Bolton will take a 3-1 lead. Oxford United take a 1-0 win. I thought that was a much better game. I thought it was more two teams trying to go at each other. And I quite like watching Oxford. I quite like watching Peterborough. I think Peterborough were a bit unlucky in the game as well. They had some really good chances at times. Barnsley could have been 2-2. Just a couple of moments before that final corner. So we'll first take a look into Barnsley versus Bolton. We'll have a look at the lineups, the numbers and everything that goes with it. And then we'll take a look into Oxford and Peterborough. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below or in this top corner to stay subscribed for all the latest football and Formula 1 content. If you haven't done so already, there's also a link down below to join in a membership basis. If you want to know all the details to that, there is a link in the description which you can click and it will tell you everything you need to know. While we're at it, let me know down in the comments your thoughts on the playoffs so far. Who do you think's in pole position to head to Wembley in both games? And who do you think could be the final team to join Derby and Portsmouth in the Championship? So here we have it then, and obviously, as you can tell by the scoreline, if you haven't already looked at the game, obviously Dion Charles bagged a brace, one of them being a penalty. Now, the penalty, for me, definitely a penalty. I don't think anybody can argue with that. But it's one of those where you're frustrated that it's given against you because it came from a defensive mistake. And I thought Sam Cosgrove made a real difference for Barnsley when he came on. I think Dion Charles comes across to me as very much a confidence player. He got that first goal and he just looked so much more confident on the ball and comfortable. And I think Bolton were good, but I look at the lineups and the two teams, right? And Barnsley obviously lost pretty much their entire back three last season, and they've had a real struggle. I think Devante Cole has scored something like 1 in 20 or something like that, and I can't see Barnsley turning this around personally, especially away from home. Don't get me wrong, they're a much better side away from home. But I just can't see them turning this around. I can't see Bolton going into the game to finish at 0-0. But I think the big conversation for this has to be Magoma and Dion Charles. I thought Magoma was excellent, especially within the first half. Got into some really, really good areas to create chances. I think I've seen a lot of talk about Santos at the back for Bolton, and don't get me wrong, I think he's a good League One player, but I think his skill set, if Bolton go up, I don't think he'll be the player they think he is. And don't get me wrong, I think he's a very good League One defender, but do I think he can go higher? Maybe not. I think he's a bit... I'm not sure if static's the right word, but he just comes across when I'm watching him, and don't get me wrong, I've not watched Bolton every week this year, I'm not going to claim to have, but it comes across him sort of just struggles to get across and come back, and Cosgrove's goal for Barnsley came from that. Santos and I'm not sure which one of their other players it was. It might have been Sheenan or Jones. Sort of both got attracted to to one player, and then neither could get across to Cosgrove, and he pretty much had a one-on-one with Baxter. Baxter is the only reason why Bolton are going into the second leg ahead, in my opinion. Because realistically, if Barnsley scored that second goal, the whole momentum shift of the game changes. Because that would have been at what I think that was like the 80-something minute, 85th, 86th minute. So that would have been sort of, it would have been Bolton trying to contain and go in at a draw rather than trying to go and get another. So I think Baxter kept him in the game. I thought Williams had a really good game. Obviously, he's the one that scored direct from a corner. Aaron Collins, is it Aaron Collins, Archie Collins? I know there's two Collinses. I always get them mixed up between the Bolton and Peterborough Collins. But Collins, whichever one it is, I felt he was missing. Don't think he offered what he's offered recently, and I'm not sure if that's because he's got Charles next to him. Obviously, Charles has been through a lot with Bolton, had some very, very good seasons, and do they fit together? Who knows? Only time will tell. I do think it's going to be Bolton getting to the final, but we'll take a preview into that in tomorrow's video, so do make sure you stick around for that by hitting that subscribe button down below. And then if we talk about Barnsley, I don't think they were bad, but I don't think they were good. It was just a case of, can we get through without conceding many goals? And realistically, they could have gone into the second leg 2-2, and if it wasn't for Baxter, they would have done. But if we do now go over and take a look at the stats of the two sides, and you can see, like, obviously Bolton created the most chances. They obviously had the penalty, which is what, 0.7 something XG. So you take that off, and they're still by far the better team, created much more chances. But Barnsley controlled more of the ball, which I found a bit surprising in the game. I can't lie, because I really expected Bolton to take control of possession and control the game. But obviously being away from home, they seemed to sort of sit off a little bit. But I also felt like when Bolton had the ball, they weren't very good with it. Don't get me wrong, they had plenty of spells where they were playing the ball about and keeping it, but it would never really seem to be in decent areas. They had some really good sort of like counter moves, you could say, where they won the ball halfway through their own half and broke away. That's where the first goal came from, with Magoma putting in the cross. Magoma gets into some really nice space out wide, beats his man, puts the ball in the box, brilliant cross into exactly where you want it, the danger area. And that's what Dion Charles is there for, and that's what he's good at doing. And if Bolton don't go up, he's a player I'd really like to see Derby go in for, because I think he's an excellent number 9, and with the way we play, I think he'd really fit in. But you can see it there by the pass accuracy of both sides. 57% for Bolton compared to 71% for Barnsley. Now, I don't think Barnsley were great. I'm not even going to turn around and say that I thought they were great. We do look down at, obviously, the XGs and stuff like that. If you want to take a look, click pause on the screen now. But obviously, it's one of those. For me, obviously, Barnsley created lesser opportunities, but they did have some really good opportunities. But I think Bolton's big problem for this second leg is going to be Phillips. And realistically, if I was the manager of Barnsley, if I was Devaney, Cosgrove starts, because I thought Cosgrove was excellent when he came on. I thought he made a real difference to the team. And obviously, you look at the momentum chart here, you can tell that realistically, Barnsley should have done more. And I'm not sure if they'll go into the second leg disappointed, or if they... Well, I think Josh Earle's done a press conference, and he basically said there's no pressure on us now. Well, I think that's crazy. You're in the playoffs, of course there's pressure, but I get where he's coming from, because everyone's written them off. But for me, they were written off before the other day. So, like, you can't really change your attitude towards that now, in my opinion. So it's going to be interesting to see what both sides do. We will be previewing it in my video tomorrow, so make sure you stick around for that. Let's now take a look into Peterborough versus Oxford, which, in my opinion, was a game with much more quality. So, as mentioned earlier on, Oxford United came away 1-0 winners in what was a very good game, in my opinion. I thought it was two sides that were really trying to play with it, like essentially play with each other, trying to really pull people out, create chances. And as you can see, we've got the other Collins in midfield here. Which Collins is it? I can't see on that URL at the bottom. But like, I thought Oxford were really good in this game. I think obviously they scored from a set piece. Long ball into the back post, headed back across, and then Moore puts it away. Now, I thought defensively Peterborough could have done a bit better with that. I think they'll probably feel the same. And I think Peterborough fans are going to go into this second leg with a lot of hope. They're only one goal down and they're going home. And I think the likes of Mason Clark will have a much better game. I think Mothersill will probably have a better game. And like, you've obviously got Randall had a fairly decent game. Cipriano had a decent game. But for me, it was just one of those where it was two sides that were just trying to cancel out each other's attacks. And I think it really shows in the ratings that we're seeing on FootMob right now. Obviously, you look, the front three, apart from Murphy for Oxford, are all in the low sixes. The same with Peterborough. Now, Peterborough missed a really good chance. You've probably seen it clipped where the ball gets come across and like their forward tries to, I'm not sure whether he's trying to jump over it or flick it into the net, and it obviously doesn't go anywhere near the goal. And I thought Harrison Burrows was a bit ineffective in this game. Now, I know in the preview for the playoffs I didn't really mention him, and I don't know why I didn't mention him. I was pulled up on it in the comments, and I do like Burrows. I think he's a really good player. Now, I do believe that his contract's up at the end of this season, but they do have an option. Now, Derby County don't have a proper left wing back apart from Callum Elder contracted at the moment. So it's going to be really interesting to see, will Derby make a move for someone like Harrison Burrows? But that's a completely different conversation. But you look at the Oxford team and you can tell by their back fours ratings, they defended really, really well. They really shut down the likes of Mothersill, Mason Clark, Randall. And it was, for me, a fairly decent game. They brought on Poku at half time, couldn't get in the game. Brought on Ricky J. Jones, couldn't really get in the game. And like, I was really impressed with this performance. If we look in the stats, I'm not sure if it will show what I thought, but yeah, it does really. Two teams really trying to go with each other. Peterborough, the more ball carrying side, having more possession. You've got Oxford United and Peterborough really shutting each other down, not really giving each other many chances. And it's obviously 10 shots to 8 for Peterborough, 4 shots on target to 5. You look at Peterborough's opportunities, mainly in the box. There's only 2 opportunities outside the box for Oxford. And you look at the difference in passing accuracies in this game. You've got 80% for Oxford, 85% for Peterborough. And don't get me wrong, I completely understand that Oxford and Peterborough are two different sides to Barnsley and Bolton. And I know Barnsley have sort of a similar mentality as to what Derby County have, where it's sort of percentage football rather than total football. And don't get me wrong, I understand it. And I think I get it, but I just think in this situation of playoff football, you've got to win games. And percentage football doesn't always give you the best opportunities against the top teams to win those games. And don't get me wrong, Derby have done it really well this season, but they've got the players for it, and Barnsley just don't seem to at the moment. Now, obviously, with more chat about this Oxford game, and realistically, going into the second leg, obviously Oxford and Bolton are in pole position for both second legs, and it's really, really difficult to be able to pinpoint where this game is going to be won and lost, because you obviously look, and obviously Peterborough are taking sort of the mantle for most of it, but it was Oxford who took their chance. And it's not like Peterborough didn't have chances. They had plenty and plenty of chances. So for me, that is going to be the interesting discussion heading into the preview of this game, which will be coming out tomorrow. And I'm going to talk about what these teams need to do. And for me, they need more chances. I think Oxford are going to just sit in and try and contain, and I think Peterborough are going to have to really come out their shell for this one. Now, we've reviewed both games, and tomorrow we're going to be previewing the second legs and looking towards the final, because for me, I think one team's got one foot there. I think the other two are still battling it out. It's like a rock, paper, scissors game down at pitch side. But we'll see what's going to happen. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel. I hope you do stay tuned for future football and Formula One content. I might be moving my Formula One content to a different channel, so keep your eyes peeled on the community tab for that, and I'll keep you all up to date. But yeah, so hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you in my next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula One and football weekend.